We'll redo that.
I mean, obviously it does.
This is where we're gonna be like... That's the overcoat, hang on.
Disc was in the overcoat, wasn't it?
Yeah. Well, it depends on what he says. I feel like there's an angle of attack, because I remember when Gina was trying to give the disc back, the guy was like, this disc is worthless, I'm not gonna take this. Okay, maybe I'll take it for like a penny, or like a single shilling or something, but no more. And so maybe he's gonna be like, yeah, I pawned this for money, and we're gonna be like, no, it's not worth anything. So, okay.
Yeah, I don't know how we prove that, though.
There's a note on the disc saying for McGilded, but the item belongs to me. The redemption ticket was stolen from me by the accused, that filthy gutterling, on the day in question. I proceeded at once to the shop in order to explain my situation and redeem my article. In the end, of course, the disc was taken by the police. In other words, I had absolutely no reason to break into the shop later that same night.
Did I hear you correctly, sir? McGilded, you say? The famous London philanthropist? Who perished in this very courtroom 2 months ago after being acquitted of a distinctly messy murder.
Yes, my lord, the one and the same.
Good lord, Mr. Graydon! Are you saying that McGilded and yourself were acquainted?
Yes, that's correct.
Order!
Did you tell?
Well, I certainly didn't expect to hear that name uttered here in my courtroom again.
According to what Gina told us, this disc was placed in pawn on that fateful night 2 months ago. Gilden himself gave instructions to deposit it at Windybanks.
It's funny that Mr. Graydon here is claiming the disc belongs to him then, isn't it?
In all likelihood, he's lying. So he appeared that afternoon at Windybanks in order to get his hands on McGilded's disc for some reason.
Counsel, you will commence your cross-examination, please. I don't see an immediate, method of attack, so I think we should start by pressing.
So we're gonna ask about what his acquaintance is. And what the disc is.
Would you care to explain how this belongs to you? As you will observe, a communications officer such as myself commands a fine salary.
You are certainly exquisitely dressed, sir.
So you see, I have little need to make use of the services provided by the pawnbrokery trade. However, I did once find myself in difficulties, in having misplaced my purse whilst on an errand. Which is why I pawned my fine black overcoat to the broker in question.
The one that doesn't fit you?
Yeah.
You claim that was your overcoat. Obviously, and in my haste, I clean forgot. The music box disc was in its pocket. And yet there is a note on it that reads, for McGilded. I'm a collector of rare and unusual music box music. I first met Mr. McGilded at a gentleman's club in the city, and was interested to discover.
Right next to 612 Wharf Avenue.
He shared my penchant in that area.
So the disc in question.
It's a pre-production sample. I promised to let Mr. McGilded hear it. Then you forgot that it was in the pocket of the overcoat you were forced to pawn. Yes, exactly.
Gina didn't mention any of that in her testimony 2 months ago, did she?
No, McGilded had threatened her to keep her mouth shut. Which means that if we dig too deeply here, it's going to expose Gina's perjury.
Oh dear. This is complicated, isn't it?
Let's leave it alone for the time being.
I mean, perjury is a less extreme crime than murder, so I think that's fine.
So you're saying that Miss Lestrade lifted the ticket from your pocket or bag? That's right. Despite being mindful of danger and walking in the insalubrious areas of her kind frequent, Miss Lestrade did no such thing. Well, of course you would take that stance. The girl is a regular offender. You came to the pawnbrokery that day prepared with all the information you needed to identify the defendant. You were looking for her. That's what brought you to Windybanks. To get your hands on Mr. McGilded's disc. My learned friend is a veritable font of nonsense. Nonsense?
I concur with the prosecution. Counsel, you will refrain from conjecturing in this way, is that clear?
Yes, my lord. And I will continue with my testimony, for what possible use it can be.
Oops.
Have you ever been to Windybanks before? Only once for the purposes of pawning something. But, like many, I enjoy browsing in such establishments. When you noticed that the pickpocket had taken your ticket, you chased after her. Is that correct? Yes, that's right. I didn't notice at first, of course. Such is the art of the pick purse. But when I did, I headed to the pawnbrokery at once, in order to reclaim my coat before the thief could. I was merely trying to recover what was rightfully mine in the first place. He can say what he likes because he knows we have no evidence to contradict him on this. Yes, it was taking my Inspector Gregson here, wasn't it? That's right. This was the very man. Apparently the police are collecting anything that has a connection to Mr. McGilded as evidence.
Okay, what do you have to say about that?
Is something wrong, Inspector?
Oh, yeah, sorry. What do you mean?
The last remark Mr. Graydon made in his testimony seemed to trouble you in some way.
No, it didn't. It's nothing. Leave it alone.
Let me ask you this, Inspector. Why is Scotland Yard gathering Mr. McGilded's possessions?
I can't tell you something like that, sunshine.
Fish and chips man is being real sus here.
Yeah.
What is it, Inspector?
Being a
Investigative
sussy baka.
secrets?
Yes, exactly. You should know all about that.
Magnus McGilded, who died so unexpectedly after his trial 2 months ago. Man renowned throughout the capital for his great contributions to public life. Yet he had a dark side too.
Where are you going with this, Van Zeeks?
I suppose the police are dealing with the aftermath of his nefarious activities, are they?
That's enough! Coppers like me have duties to carry out, and we're not at liberty to talk about. That's all you need to know.
Duties conferred by Lord Strongheart, I presume. The Lord Chief Justice appears to have great faith in you, Inspector.
Bottom line is, if you want to get more out of me, you're gonna need Lord Strongheart's paw print first.
Oh no, he's a furry.
Woof.
Yeah.
What's all this about? It's like there's something going on between Gregson and Lord Van Zeeks here. They're exes.
God.
Well, it appears that the Inspector has revealed all he is at liberty to reveal. Mr. Graydon, let's return to your testimony.
Gladly, my lord. But perhaps you'd seen something of value among the forfeited items. No, not at all.
Are we gonna have to be like, you wanted the other item, and he's like, I didn't leave another item, and we're like, yes you did, here's this ticket that was, you know, from only 2 days later, that is of a box, and he's like, you can't prove that other ticket was from me, and we're like, well, this one was, this overcoat, right? And this other one has a picture of a cat on the back that's part of the same, like, stereoscopic pair. So obviously it came from the same source. I think that's what it... Well, no, because the ticket was written by... Fuck. The ticket was... Damn it.
A valuer was brought in by the police to assess everything in the shop. Without exception, every article on the shelves was common or garden bric-a-brac. In that case, it's clear. You broke into the shop later that day in order to recover Mr. McGilded's disc. Have you not been listening, man? Even if I had wanted to recover the disc, you may recall that it had been seized by the police that afternoon. It was no more in the shop that night than I. As I keep saying, I simply had no reason to break in. There was nothing of McGilded's left in the shop that night. I think this man might have been after. I wonder if that's really true.
No, if you have some evidence. Let him have it! I'm dying to see that irritatingly short expression of his crumble.
Okay, I know what to do then.
McGilded slipped the disc into his coat pocket and had it deposited at Windybanks. Then, when he realized he was going to be arrested on suspicion of the omnibus murder, he threatened Gina and forced her to take the redemption ticket.
There's no doubt about it, that witness is lying through his pearly white teeth.
The police were obviously after anything left behind by McGilded as well. So Inspector Gregson ended up taking the disc into custody that day.
But Grexy's being very strange about all this.
Must be a reason for that, I'm sure. I just don't know what it is. Now, I need to focus on exposing the fact that Mr. Graydon is lying in his testimony.
Alright. One small box.
This disc was deposited at Windybanks on Magnus McGilded's instructions. You knew that, and you went there with the intention of obtaining it yourself. Conjecture again. In any case, the disc was taken into custody by the police that afternoon. The witness had no reason to visit the pawnbrokery again that night. Sorry, my learned friend. That's not true. What? Mr. McGilded had another article on pawn at Windybanks. As this second pawnbroker's ticket proves. There were two articles belonging to Mr. McGilded in Windybanks pawnbrokery. And the reason you broke into the shop that night was to recover the second one. Together with your two accomplices, the Skulkin brothers. Ugh.
This is the second ticket, is it?
What had the man deposited? Article description reads, one small box.
A rather vague description, it seems to me.
You suggesting that I broke into the pawnbrokery with these clowns in order to steal some trinket box? I believe there are adequate grounds to suspect that you did. This is absurd. Why on earth would I do such a thing? Since the article had been forfeited, I could simply walk into the shop and purchase it. Would be absolutely no need for me to resort to theft. That's a good point.
Indeed, the witness makes a solid argument.
So that means that for some reason, this Graydon fellow needed the small box that very night, does it?
It's time to put an end to this nonsense, my lord.
Could you be a little less cryptic, Lord Van Zeeks?
I do hate to ruin my learned friend's argument, but the truth is quite incontrovertible. The night in question, no small box was taken from Windibank's pawnbrokery. And rest assured, the prosecution can prove it.
How?
What?
Good gracious!
Inspector, show the photographic prints to the court.
Yes, sir.
What prints?
Oh boy. These prints were taken from one of the detective's security cameras.
Hermes red hand recorders again.
As previously explained using this plan of the shop layout. Layton's establishment was furnished with 2 automatic cameras in 2 locations. One was set to capture the counter where Mr. Windibank received his customers. The other was set to capture the shelves on which the articles were placed for sale and forfeited.
What about behind the cameras, though? Oh.
According to the information on this ticket, McGilded's small box had been forfeited already.
Okay.
2 days before the incident, at 9 p.m. on 30th of April to be precise. Which means it would have been on the shelves of forfeited items in the shop front. Now, what I have here is a print taken by one of the cameras about 2 hours before the incident. That's at 11 p.m. on 15th April. The victim certainly had a very full shop, it would appear.
Oh, look, the thinker.
God.
Maybe we should think.
It's a clock. And then here we have another print.
Right, we're gonna have to do the thing.
Yeah.
This one was taken about 2 hours after the incident. I see. So we have 2 pictures to compare. Oh boy. Well, I must say that putting them side by side leaves me cold.
Right. What do we got?
I mean, it's established that I can't do it, so...
I'm trying.
Fair.
The, next to the stereoscope machine, there's a small box that has moved between the 2 pictures.
Ah.
Oh, yeah.
If you compare it to the...
Oh, okay.
Yeah. That's the only thing that's different between these. I just crossed my eyes.
Yep. Dear me, that's starting to make my head ache. Obviously, in Scotland Yard, we consider theft as one possible motive in this case. We explained the possibility that someone had been taken. Something had been taken in addition to the victim's life.
I like how you said explayed and then explained instead of explored.
Shit. I'll explore it. Fuck. So your men have already compared these 2 prints thoroughly, Inspector? Yes, sir. We count every single item in each of these 2 photographic prints. And the Oscar conclusions that exactly the same number are present in both.
Yes, but one of them moved.
But one that moved.
In other words, nothing was taken from the pawnbrokery in the night in question. My learned friend's assertion is nothing more than a hopeful fantasy.
He could have taken shit out of the box.
Yeah.
I don't believe it. Could have just shown that he'd stolen McGilded's pawned box. Oh yeah. Might have been able to break him down at last.
Now, what, Bruno? Dancing is really irritating. I'm thinking. One of these 2 photographs are really exactly the same.
What?
So, Consul, in the light of the evidence put forward by the prosecution, what is your position? It seems that, in fact, on the night in question, nothing was stolen from the victim's establishment. Do you accept the prosecution's assertion? No.
I don't know. Could there be some hidden discrepancy in these two photographic prints somewhere?
The discrepancy
Yep.
is the
I
box.
wasn't sure at first, but there is a clear discrepancy between these two prints. What?
You must identify the location in question for the court, Consul. Indicate the precise location of the discrepancy of which you speak.
Granted, these two prints are almost identical. However, there is one minor discrepancy between them.
What?
When you view the two pictures stereoscopically,
Yep.
one bit lights up.
Yeah.
A single area stands out as being different. The location of this small box.
Yep.
Let me
Let me
wait. Unbelievable.
Vampire. By Jove, you're right! How extraordinary!
Even thumbnail. What this tells us is very simple. The McGilded small box was indeed not stolen from Windy Banks on the night in question. However, there can be no doubt. Somebody picked up this particular box and then returned it to its place on the shelves.
Are you suggesting that the small box originally deposited by Mr. McGilded is in fact...
Yes! Very same small box I just identified in those photographic prints. Mindless guesswork. What if it was? So a box was moved on the shelf. Nothing was stolen.
The
You
content.
can open the box!
Which means quite simply that nothing has changed. That may be true, but alright, McGilded's box wasn't stolen then. Doesn't the fact that it was moved like that change things?
It changes everything.
Changes everything. I believe this changes everything about the case. How can that possibly be? Crucial point is the fact that what was moved was a small box. In other words, we have to consider what might have been inside the box. What are you suggesting?
That he opened the damn box.
I'm suggesting that we'll need to examine that box as soon as possible. Vital piece of evidence is sitting on the shelves at Windy Banks as we speak. Won't be necessary. Some little box belonging to a man who died 2 months ago can't possibly be relevant to this trial.
The court does not uphold your objection, Lord Van Zeeks.
Thank you.
Bailiff, arrange for an officer to go to Baker Street at once. Obtain the small box in question and bring it back here for further examination.
Cross-examination. That's not what we're doing now. And the box just has like second face.
We should have a report within half an hour. I think perhaps we should recess for a short while until the evidence is brought forth.
To be hoodwinked by such a farce. Disappointing.
I beg your pardon, Lord Van Zeeks.
This is nothing but a smokescreen. Ebony specialty, it would seem. What are you trying to say? My learned friend has persisted with the same line of reasoning from the very beginning. This witness's intent was to steal an article belonging to Mr. McGilded from the pawnbrokery. Yet common sense tells us that none of the articles have value enough to be worth stealing in the first place. Exactly! It would be beyond absurd to break into a place for the purpose of stealing such commonplace property.
Yeah. Okay, so we need to prove it that it was worth something.
If your lordship recalls, Mr. McGilded perished 2 months ago, immediately after the conclusion of his trial. Trial in which he was found not guilty. Trial in which it was established that he was the upstanding member of society, his reputation implied, in fact. So I propose a toast to my learned friend and his most insightful defense. The articles this upstanding member of society pawned were entirely ordinary. Black overcoat that just happened to have a music box disc in one of its pockets, and a small box. I assure you, I wouldn't accept even if the man tried to make a gift of such things to me.
That does make rather a lot of sense. It's not as if it was gold or jewels, is it? Though goodness, Mr. Gilden. Can't deposit cash at pawnbroker, I'm quite certain of that.
The prosecution's argument is undeniably compelling.
It is incumbent on the defense now to bolster its argument. Explain what possible significance these commonplace articles pawned by this fine citizens could have. What does incumbent mean?
Necessary, I think.
Oh.
Let me double check.
Well, counsel?
Yeah, it's necessary for the defense too.
Well, counsel, is your argument in fact demonstrable? Are you able to show proof that the disc or the box are in any tangible way related to this case?
Well,
What's the matter, Bruno? Now that they're related, don't we? We both have vital pieces of evidence.
they're both. We have. Yes, of course. You and I both know that. I know McGilded's true character. I know that the disc is significant even if we don't know why. But if we explain all that to the court at this point, I have to acknowledge that McGilded's acquittal 2 months ago was a mistake.
So, you didn't commit a crime.
The defense's argument was flawed, based on false information.
Okay, you didn't do anything though. Ryonosuke. Like,
Oh,
you didn't break the law, you didn't forge evidence, like, you just argued for him and then you won. Like,
That would mean
oh,
that Gina committed
Yeah.
perjury.
well shit.
Yeah, that
but Ginny...
Maybe the Van Zeek's knows? Is that why he's doing this now? Because he anticipated everything. Is he Batman?
Maybe. Could be a great opportunity for us.
Sorry? What do you mean, Iris?
What is it you always say, Bruno? Sooner or later, the truth comes out. Every time.
Right? The exact significance of the things that McGilded deposited with Mr. Windybank. Something that only Gina can explain to the court. If I put her on the stand to testify about that, it critically damage our chances of winning this case. It's the right thing to do here.
I mean, what else could we do?
I don't know if we have another option, honestly.
Yeah.
Truth must come out, and the truth will set you free.
Yeah.
The truth comes out. It does.
Does Gina is a perjury?
My lord, the defense would like to make a proposal.
Oh, what proposal, counsel?
The court awaits the arrival of Mr. McGilded's small box. Would like to call the defendant, Miss Gina Lestrade, the witness stand.
The defendant? To what end?
You know, for fun. It's to do with the various articles deposited at Windybanks by Mr. McGilded, my lord. Mr. Strahd has information relating to them. I believe it would be beneficial for the court to hear what she has to say. It will prove the significance of the articles in question once and for all. Oh well, things are becoming interesting. I presume you've considered the implications of the testimony you're proposing. In particular, the impact it will have on the accused standing, and indeed your own. I have.
Lord Van Zeeks, would you care to explain that last remark? No.
The prosecution accepts the defense's proposal. I move to interrupt the cross-examination of the current witness and hear from the accused herself.
Very well, if you have no objection. So, the court will now hear the testimony of the defendant, Miss Gina Lestrade. You witnesses currently in the stand may step down until further notice.
Then I shall bid you good day. Wait. You, sir, shall remain in the stand while Miss Lestrade testifies. As you wish. Right then, Gina, it's time. I know this will be hard, but please, put your faith in me here. Good luck, Bruno. The articles that Mr. McGilded had deposited in Windybank's pawnbrokery are intimately related to the omnibus case, the trial of which was heard in this courtroom 2 months ago.
Yes, and I remember this young lady being brought before me at that trial as well.
That's right, my lord. Testimony helped to establish the innocence of the defendant, Mr. McGilded. The omnibus case was intriguing, to say the least. Now here we all are again. Same players in that trial facing each other once more. Twist of fate, perhaps, my Nipponese friend. Oh, sorry. Allow me to recap the events of 2 months ago. An old brickmaker was stabbed to death in an omnibus running along London's winter streets. Apart from the victim, there was only one other person in the carriage, Mr. McGilded. Naturally, he was the prime suspect for the murder. As the trial progressed, another possibility emerged. The murder in fact took place above the defendant's head on the roof deck, the body then being dropped through the skylight into the carriage below. It was Miss Lestrade whose testimony brought that possibility to light. At the time of the incident, Miss Lestrade was concealed under a seat in the carriage, hoping to pick the pockets of unsuspecting passengers. Then, immediately after the trial, having been acquitted of the murder, Mr. McGilded died in this very courtroom in the most extraordinary of circumstances. A mystery that remains unsolved even now, 2 months on. As indeed does the omnibus murder itself.
Be that as it may, I recall neither the disc nor the small box being mentioned in the course of those proceedings.
Miss Lestrade, would you like to tell the court now, please? What really happened in the omnibus 2 months ago, I mean.
I don't know what you mean. I already said all of what I know.
What about everything you told us yesterday from inside your prison cell? Please, Miss Lestrade, this is extremely important.
But...
Remember, little girl, if it transpires that you willfully withheld information in the trial 2 months ago, the Home Office will seek to prosecute you for perjury. Naturally, you will lose all credibility as a witness. Although, let's face facts. You have little credibility to lose.
Hey, don't listen to him! Please, you have to trust Bruno now!
Iris?
On your side!
Alright then, I'll talk.
It's the right choice, Gina. Well, it would seem that my learned friend is hell-bent on bringing the entire courtroom down about his ears. So be it.
I must confess that I'm struggling to understand what on earth is happening here. However, it would appear that Mr. McGilded's pawned articles in that extraordinary case of the omnibus harbor secrets of which we have been hitherto unaware. So, Mr. Strad, you will now give your testimony before the court about the events of 2 months ago. You will reveal the truth, a commodity sorely lacking in your original statements.
This is it then. Everything's going to come out. Van Zeke said. This could bring the whole courtroom down about my ears. As a lawyer, I'm prepared to take that risk. Actually, I want to lose so I can go home with Susato.
Truth is, that brickmaker's cove was in the cabin of the omnibus the whole time. When the Irishman dragged me out from under the seat, I saw that disc on the floor. All of a sudden, I heard a scream from over my head, and that pair on the roof deck went off to call the slops. That's when McGilded sipped the driver some tin to do a run to the pawn shop roundabout. He threatened me not to snitch, not to say nothing to no one about what I'd seen or heard. Whoops. Seen or heard. Yeah. Ben.
Oh, yeah. Good grief, this is outrageous! What you've just told the court bears almost no resemblance to your testimony 2 months ago.
As you say, my lord.
Then there's every chance I may have adjudicated an error in McGilded's trial. It sounds very much to me as if the man deliberately deceived this court in an effort to cover up the most wicked of schemes.
Without doubt, your lordship is correct. A great injustice was done in this courtroom 2 months ago. The actions of the accused in that trial, of this witness, and of my learned friend are entirely inexcusable. So I
don't believe it! The whole trial was a farce, it was all lies. That McGilded fellow was rotten to the core, just like that pickpocket. Don't forget that lawyer from the east, they were all in on it together. You're wrong, the lot of you! Mr. Narado, the lawyer there, he didn't know nothing about it! Humbug! I don't think so. Are we really expected to believe that?
He really stitched everyone up, didn't he? What an operation to get the man off scot-free.
Unforgivable. Stop. The lies have to stop. Stop. Yes, the defense made a terrible error of judgment. They tend to take full responsibility and suffer whatever consequences are deemed appropriate. However, it's imperative that the court allows the witness to elaborate on her testimony. Because the true significance of McGilded's pawned articles must be brought to light. Very well. My learned student friend. Given the depth of calamity you just plunged yourself into, this may well be worth hearing.
Words fail me. The situation is utterly deplorable. Mr. Narhodo.
Yes, my lord.
I will decide upon your fate following the conclusion of this trial.
Of course, my lord.
Blimey, Mr. Narado.
Now, counsel, proceed with the cross-examination.
Right.
Was the disc you saw this disc?
Yeah, I reckon it probably was. It was right next to the cove lying on the floor.
This disc could belong to the victim, perhaps.
I don't know, but McGilded picked it up pretty smartish, and then he sat the cove with a knife in his belly up on the seat.
What did he say to you at that time?
He told me not to say a word about what I'd seen or heard to no one. About the disc and all. I was dead scared. The way he was looking at me, I thought, if I didn't go along with it, I'd get stuck with that knife too. Then he started asking me a load of questions, like what my name was and where I lived and that. He asked me about being a diver too.
After a while, what had happened in the carriage was noticed.
Yeah, that's right. First there was a kind of rapping noise.
Oh, yo, yo. That pawn shop obviously being Windybank's on Baker Street.
Just a moment, Counsel. Do you mean to tell me that the driver gave false testimony at that trial as well?
Perhaps the excursion to the pawnbrokery slipped his mind when he was in the stand.
Indeed, Lord Van Zeeks.
McGilded took off his coat and gave it to the driver. He folded it up all careful like before handing it over. When I saw him do that, I remember thinking, that coat and what's in it's got to be worth a few bob.
Yes, Gina was sure that this must be worth more than Mr. Windybank was suggesting, wasn't she? I remember her quibbling with him over the price that afternoon at the pawnbrokery.
The driver looked pretty happy when McGilded flashed some brass in his face. He went running off at a lick. Then the bog trotter called to me and told me to come out from the drag's cabin.
You were hiding in the cabin at the time as well, weren't you, Mr. Strad? I remember rightly, in the storage compartment underneath one of the seats.
Yeah, that's right. It's pitch black under there, so you can't see nothing at all.
Now, in your testimony 2 months ago, I feel certain that you claimed Mr. McGilded was the sole passenger, did you not?
False testimony, my lord.
That's what you told me I had to say.
It's important that you tell us the truth now. Mr. McGilded and the victim acquaintances.
I don't know. But I did hear him talking a lot.
What were they talking about?
Well, I couldn't hear too well, but if I had to say, I think it was about money or something. They kept talking about buying and not buying.
Perhaps business dealings of some kind.
Well, anyway, they got louder and louder. It started to sound like a proper fight. I was pretty scared by then. I hardly dared to breathe. And then, all of a sudden, I heard a noise like someone keeling over on the floor. It was blooming loud and all.
And I believe you let out an involuntary scream.
Yeah. That's what gave me away.
There were two gentlemen occupying the seats on the roof deck, I believe.
That's right. They must have looked down through the skylight and noticed the cove with a knife in his guts. When they screamed, the driver pulled up the horses and McGilded got me out of sight.
Out of sight? Where?
Back under the seat where I started off. Once the carriage came to an halt, the two coves from the roof ran off to fetch the slops.
They immediately left to fetch the police. It would appear they were entirely unrelated to the incident. So that left McGilded, the driver, and you still at the scene.
Yeah, only the driver didn't know I was there because I was under the seat. I heard the cabin door open and a voice from outside.
The driver, yes. He also testified at the trial, I believe. A fellow went by the name of Beppo, if memory serves.
McGilded and the driver say to each other.
I don't know what happened and stuff like that mainly.
Threatened you how exactly?
Told me I'd only be able to scarp her if I did exactly what he said.
Which included giving false testimony in court 2 months ago.
Yeah, that's it. And there was one other thing he said.
Which was?
He told me I'd have to hang on to the ticket from the pawn shop and make sure not to lose it.
The ticket? Well, I never.
Said that if he didn't show up to get the ticket off me before 2 months had passed, I had to go to the pawn shop and pay the money to keep it in luck, to stop it being forfeited. He left me with some brass to pay for it.
But really, why on earth would Mr. McGilded have done such a thing? Depositing his overcoat with a pawnbroker before the arrival of the police. It makes no sense at all.
There would seem to be only one logical explanation, my lord. McGilded had the driver deposit at Windybanks was something he didn't want the police to see.
And it's possible that that's the same reason that Graydon wanted to get it out of there as well. It wasn't worth much, but he needed it away. Especially because the police confiscated the disc. Maybe whatever was in the box was also valuable. Not valuable, sorry. Was also, like, incriminating in some way. And he was involved in that.
Something very important that he needed to hide at all costs.
Anyway, after that he let me go, so I legged it before the coppers showed up.
Well done, Gina. It couldn't have been easy to tell the truth like that.
He's really put her faith in you, Runo.
Yes, and to thank her, she'll have to face a charge of perjury once this trial's over. We need to use the time we have now to get as much information out of her as possible.
It's time to really go for it. Press her on every statement.
I suppose I should.
I did.
Oh, and another thing.
What's that?
Take a look at those two. Isn't it strange they've been whispering to each other the entire time?
Yes, that is strange. Looks like they're having a secret discussion about something. I'm sure I'm completely comfortable with that. What if there's anything I can do about it?
Do we have to keep checking on them through every statement, and then... Oh boy, okay.
I shouldn't.
I'm gonna try it, because I don't know what else to do.
I don't think it would hide it. Or maybe it would, I don't know.
Maybe you're just supposed to, at any point, just say, excuse me, and ask them what they're doing.
Well, we'll look to see if there's any specific...
You can't
points.
ask them if they're not doing a thing.
No, you can. Pursue.
It does let you, but no, I'm gonna...
Oh.
Yeah, I'm pretty confident you're just supposed to ask them what the fuck they're doing. But yeah,
That'd be fucking... I assume there's gonna be a visual indication.
yeah, it would be weird that there's no visual indication, but I guess like the visual indication is that they're having a private conversation.
Let's do the last statement, because that was the one where she was talking about the thing potentially being incriminating. Oops.
I mean, push comes to shove, we can always look it up.
Oh.
If I absolutely need to, but I'd rather try something and waste a bit of health.
Yeah, fair.
It's gonna be like, push these statements in this order.
That
and
they
then
do that
go
sometimes.
File your taxes.
I mean, I guess... Is it worth trying just randomly pursuing them?
If we don't see them doing anything.
How do I...
Just press A. Oh, save. Oh, saving, right. Yeah. Probably would be good to save before this, and then...
Alright,
if
let's try it.
Excuse me.
What are you two on about?
Is there something you'd like to share with the court, Inspector Gregson and Mr. Graydon? Inspector! Mr. Graydon!
Whoa! Blimey, you trying to give me a heart attack?
We've been whispering to each other for quite some time now. Tell us, what is the discussion about?
Okay. Discussion. With this fella. Pull the other one, Sunshine. You got anything to talk about with a shitty jet like this?
I have nothing to say to this uncouth detective after he deprived me of that disc that was rightfully mine.
Oops. Hey!
They've clearly been talking the entire time I've been cross-examining Gina. As if they've been negotiating.
Thank you,
was
Mr.
actually
Strahd.
okay.
Thank you, Counsel. I've heard enough. I believe we now have a reasonable understanding of what actually transpired on the omnibus.
It would appear on that night 2 months ago, a negotiation was taking place on the omnibus. Negotiation concerning this disc. However, matters did not run smoothly. The parties involved began to quarrel over price. McGilded took what he wanted by force. At the expense of the other man's life. It proves my point! The disc is clearly extremely valuable in some way. I don't understand why as yet. 2 days ago, precisely 2 months after the omnibus incident, Gilded's coat and its contents were due to be forfeited.
I didn't know what I should do with the ticket. I mean, the Cove died right after his trial. I knew that.
So you decided you would try to claim the articles as your own?
Well, why not, eh? They're only going to be forfeited. Why shouldn't I have got them? Anyway, you can't blame me for thinking about it. Thinking ain't no crime.
Mr. Strahd, it appears Mr. McGilded was prepared to kill in order to take possession of this disc. Do you know why that would be?
Eh? I ain't got a clue. But I reckon it must be worth a fair bit of brass. He was probably going to sell it. And you can't blame me for thinking that. Thinking ain't no crime.
Okay.
My lord! The evidence your lordship requested has been located and is ready for the court's inspection, sir.
Aha. Here we go.
A mysterious little box deposited by McGilded 2 months ago.
McGilded.
There's no doubt in my mind that it's a key piece in this far-reaching puzzle. It's actually the Millennium Puzzle.
We're actually getting a break there, huh? Alright then, I will have to, I'll have to figure out where to split that.
Yeah.
Usually these are like 2-hour things between breaks. I'll just save over the one I just did. Alright, thanks for watching. Next time we'll finally get to see what's inside this box. See you then.
Yes.
Crack the egg.